is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Good evening. It is day 24 of the All India lockdown, and India's tally of coronavirus cases has crossed the 13,000 mark with 1,076 new cases in 24 hours. A total of 452 people have died due to the disease, but over 1,700 have recovered, and with the recovery rate that's been the highest in 3 days. That's not all. India is seeing a 40% decline in COVID-19 cases due to increased testing, says the center. The government also says that the ratio between recovered COVID-19 patients and deaths stands at 80 to 20 in India, which is higher, they say, than in several other countries, and that India's doubling rate has slowed down to 6.2 days now, once you take into account the last 7 days data that the government has released. So there's lots of those numbers to take in, lots of questions this throws up about how much longer this may continue. Is India anywhere close to flattening the curve? What do we need to do under these circumstances? Are we in the last mile? How do we continue to protect ourselves and our loved ones? We're sure you have a lot of questions, and that's why we put together this show for you, where we bring the best in the business in our studios virtually to answer all of your questions. And today that means it's Dr. Sanjay Agarwal, the physician, and he's the head of the internal medicine at the Ruby Hall Clinic in Pune. And we have Dr. Anjali Bhatt, who is a diabetologist and an endocrinologist. So, all right, well, I had a question, but we already have callers. Rajesh from Chennai has a question, so go ahead, Rajesh. It's over to you.
Yeah, good evening, ma'am. My question is regarding the testing kits which have come down from China. The whole world is rejecting all these kits, and how come we are going to trust these kits and the results which are going to come out of it? Because yesterday there was an article in the CNN International which says that the American lab CEO and the FBI completely are investigating totally into the kits which have come from China, and they're planning to reject it completely, and they're going to develop their indigenous kits. So how come India trusts China with all these kits and the faulty results it's going to give us?
Well, who better to ask, because these doctors, they are on the front line of this battle against the coronavirus. So, Dr. Anjali, you were smiling. Would you like to take this question? How do you feel? How does the fraternity feel that, yes, we do have these kits coming in? Is it a concern that they're coming in from China?
I definitely, the smile was over the factor of trust from things coming from China. And definitely, we can't deny that there is a trust issue with whatever is coming from China, with the political hikes of the intentional unintentional beginning of the virus and whatever is coming from China. But I am sure we would not be using any testings without cross-checking them with the testing protocols that we already have in. So whatever testing is coming from a new source would definitely be compared with the gold standard testing that we are already using. So unless we find or do a quality check over the testings which are coming, I am sure we would not go ahead with the new testings.
And quickly, Dr. Agarwal, same view or a counter view?
So let me add to what Dr. Anjali just said. I think most of us are using ICMR ratified kits because all those kits have to go through a quality checks. So just because we're importing it from China, it doesn't mean that it is going to be used to the general population. The ICMR is going to put them through a very strict, stringent quality checks, and only if they approve it, then it will be available for the general population for use. We also have our own indigenous kits that are being manufactured, and obviously, we'll be having those kits also handy for use over a period of time.
All right, thank you. Well, if it's good for you, like I said, since you're using them first, it's good for the rest of us. But thanks, that's reassuring. All right, let me quickly get to the other callers. We have Narendra from Mumbai. Go ahead, Narendra.
Yeah, good evening, Nidhi. I watch your Sunday program. Okay, I have a question. Can I? Hello.
Yeah, please.
Go ahead, Narendra.
Yeah. I want to ask one question. When normally we go to the doctor to check temperature when we have a normal fever, they use thermometer and they put the thermometer. Hello.
Yes, go ahead, Narendra, we hear you.
Yeah. They put a thermometer under the arm. Now here what I have been seeing all these days is they put one particular instrument and check the temperature in the eyes.
Okay. Are you talking about the thermal temperature thermometers?
How temperature is checked in the eyes rather than without thermometer? That is what I have not understood.
Okay, I mean quickly, Dr. Agarwal, I think these are the thermal thermometers. They're supposed to be even more advanced, as in they can give you the absolute correct temperature, certainly better than the temperatures we used to use when we were kids. The mercury temperature thermometers.
So we want to keep minimum contact with the patients. So as a result of which, we don't want body contact or contact with the fluids of any patient. The thermal thermometers are useful because they can be screened from a distance. They are fairly accurate. And remember that in all the presentations of COVID, fever stands out as a very important symptom. So if you are in almost about 80 to 90% of the people who come with symptomatic coronavirus infections, fever is a very important symptom that they have. And if you screen for fever, it's an important screening that you've done for the patient. So we don't want contact. And in the triage area, you try and keep, the thermal thermometers as far as possible. And you don't look into the eyes. It's basically the body temperature that you're looking at. So it's not the eyes that you're really looking at.
It's more the forehead that you're pointing the thermometer at. Okay, Narendra, so I hope that answers your question, and you should be reassured that you should go ahead and take your temperature using these thermometers right now. It's a sign of the times. Okay, Shobha from Visakhapatnam. Go ahead with your question, Shobha.
Yes, thank you. My question is this. I often hear that this person is COVID positive and that person is COVID negative. What are you testing for? Are you testing for the antibodies? Sometimes you may not develop antibodies, but you may still be carrying the virus on you.
That's a good question. It also leads me to ask, because one of the top stories that we are following today on NDTV, as Sneha Merikoshi is reporting, in Kerala there are 3 people who returned from Dubai on the 19th and the 20th of March, and they've tested positive after 26 days, which raises the question, doctors, then is that 14-day isolation norm that we're following, is that still apt given this? First to you, Dr. Anjali.
Right. So the gold standard testing for this virus is testing the RNA. It's a RNA virus. So the RT-PCR, that is a test which is used for detection of the RNA, or how much virus is there in the body. That will also help us to know the viral load. Hello?
Go ahead, Dr. Bhatt.
Yeah. So this is the RT-PCR, which detects the RNA as well as viral load, which is the standard testing. Second is the antibody testing, that is a lot in discussion nowadays, which would be lesser specific than the RT-PCR, but nonetheless easier to do, and will also help us in detecting whether the person has immunity against it or not. So when we test antibodies, we can test IgM, which is an indication of acute infection, or IgG antibody, which is an indication of immunity towards that particular virus. And as we all know, the question that you raised about the 14 days period of quarantine, actually it is based on the fact that the virus takes 14 days of incubation time from getting to the host and developing the disease. So if the person has a virus on his body, any surface of the body, till the time he gets the disease, maximum time is 14. That is why the 14-day period of quarantine is continued, right? But because we know there are a lot of asymptomatic people who could have the virus but never develop the disease, but still can infect other people, these can test positive even after 14. Actual quarantine word means 40 days, 40. But for this particular virus, we've taken 15 days because the incubation period is 14 days.
All right. You want to add something, Dr. Agarwal?
Yeah, so basically it depends on which phase of testing you're doing. If the patient comes in the early phase, usually the RT-PCR is more sensitive. So in the first week, the RT-PCR is going to be positive. The antibodies may test negative. Usually the IgM starts getting positive after the about 8th day of the illness, of the symptoms, and lasts for about 14 days. And by then also the IgG starts rising, which lasts for about 35 days. So if you're testing very early, maybe 3 to 5 days after the onset of symptoms, your antibodies may be negative and your PCR may be positive. Whereas in the very late course of the disease, the IgG may be positive or IgM may be positive and your PCR may be negative. So the sensitivity and the specificity depends on which phase of your symptom and the entire course of the illness you're really looking at. Reinfection rates so far have not been seen if your IgG and IgM are positive. There was a study in about, I think, South Korea, where they looked at 91 cases who came back, and they thought it was more of reactivation rather than reinfections that they are really looking at. So we don't have enough data to know that are there cases of reinfections that are actually happening. So we still have to really look at the graphs.
Okay. All right. Well, I see two doctors now calling in on our doctor show. I'm not sure if this is a MD doctor or PhD doctor, but we have a Dr. Samant calling from Mumbai. Go ahead, Dr. Samant.
My question is two questions to Dr. Agarwal. One is rapid tests which are going to be available for COVID virus. How much specific and they are and sensitive. And second question is why diabetics will have more morbidity in COVID-19.
So maybe Dr. Bhatt can take the second question, but go ahead, Dr. Agarwal, with the first about the rapid tests.
Okay, so the sensitivity of IgM in this 8 to 14 days to the sensitivity and specificity is to the tune of about 90%, and the IgG would be about 50 to 70%. And in the third quarter or third part of the illness, when I would say beyond 14 days to about 38 or 40 days, the IgG sensitivity is about 94%, and the IgM sensitivity comes down to about 60%. So that's where you're really looking at. So maximum sensitivity of IgM is in the 8 to 14 days, and maximum sensitivity is beyond 14 days of IgG.
Okay.
You want to take the next question, Anjali?
And Dr. Bhatt, you're the diabetologist, endocrinologist, so you take that second question. Why are people with diabetes more vulnerable?
Right. So when we use the word vulnerable, there are two phases of being vulnerable. One is catching the infection, having more chances than normal people, or the second phase of vulnerability is when you get the infection, the disease being more severe.
The second.
So, right. So the patients with diabetes are not possibly at a higher risk of catching up the infection, but if you look at the data that was published by government of Maharashtra today, where there are largest number of cases, 80% of people who died with COVID were having diabetes or hypertension or obesity. So that is the amount of problem that is happening with patients who have diabetes. As we know, it's a chronic disease, and it affects the immune cells, specifically the natural killer cells, which are very vital in fighting against the viruses. And because of lack of these activity of the natural killer cells, that the viral replication in patients with diabetes is much higher compared to people who do not have diabetes.
Okay, Dr. G.P. Bhattacharya from Kolkata has a question.
Thank you. It's related to immunity. We know physical exercise increases the growth hormone. Well, and it has got some relation with the immunity. Am I correct? And second thing is, according to the statistics, Indians are showing better rate of recovery than the Western people. Is it due to the more disciplined life of the Indian people? Just two simple questions.
Dr. Bhatt?
Okay. So the second question was, it's now a very popular question amongst people, that do we have a better immunity compared to Western population, which gives us a better hand? The question is, the answer is, we're not sure. We would, how much ever we would like to be happy with the fact that our immunity is better than the others, but there are multiple reasons involved in this. Whenever there is an epidemiological study of an infection, there are three factors related. One is factor related to host, that includes immunity. Second is factor related to the virus. And the third is factor related to environment. So definitely it is possible that because of better food habits, because of lesser processed food intake, we have a better immunity than them. But I think it was also environmental early lockdown and the government steps which might have definitely helped us to curtail the disease at an earlier stage.
Dr. Agarwal,
that is also
the first also, to put it into context, today at that health ministry meeting, the ICMR was again asked a question on that use of the BCG vaccine to fight COVID-19, and that's also one theory that since India and Asian countries have BCG vaccine is compulsory for all kids, and that somehow is made us more immune to the coronavirus.
So there's been a lot of data about the BCG vaccine and the fact that it gives you cross immunity against other infections. And that's perhaps one of the reasons that we are really looking at, there are a lot of studies being done at this point of time that does really BCG give you immunity against other illnesses. And we still have to wait for the verdict to come out. But by and large, if you look at observational studies, you do find that, BCG has certain role to play, and the Western world has of course given up BCG immunization long back. We still have it, and probably it's been predicted that may be one of the reasons why we are better protected than the others. The other thing that has also come up is, because we have a high incidences of malaria, and does that also protect us? So that's the other factor that's really coming into play. So these are just observational studies that are there. We'll still have to look at the long term whether really BCG protects us or not.
All right, and of course this comes amidst that anti-vaccination movement that we've been seeing over the past few years in the US. Of course, many people are going to be reconsidering their views on that given COVID-19. We have Shafat from Srinagar. Shafat, what's your question?
Yes. Madam, I am from Srinagar. My just simple question is, has climate any role? In our Srinagar, we have low temperatures and cold. This time again, we are in a cold situation. Has any role for this COVID-19? Number second, what are the chances of recurrence as far as this disease is concerned?
Dr. Agarwal?
Yeah, okay. So we have actually, there was predictions that maybe after the summer sets in, we would see a probably fall in the, incidence of the disease. And that's really not happened. And we now know that probably temperature really does not play any role. And there is no really relationship. Again, in any cold environment, you predict that the influenza-like illness would be at a higher level than patients at temperatures which are normal. Now, extremes of temperatures haven't shown any relationship, and probably we're just following the path of the illness, which is irrespective of the temperatures, extremes of temperatures.
Okay, let's quickly get to the next caller, Ashwin from Chennai.
Hi, good evening. My question is with respect to the antibodies. I'll just tell you about my understanding and I'll ask the question. My understanding is basically when a body generates antibodies, then through plasma transfusion, it is used for other patients who are suffering who doesn't have enough immunity. If that is correct, I'm just taking some figure about and then to understand. Let's say about a few days back, the total number of cases are about 10,800, out of which 10,000 were recovering, 300 were deceased, 500 were recovering, and 10,000 living quarantine. My point is the antibody test, when you take people who actually could be, the antibodies could be used. Is it only for those people who are recovering, or if there from the general population, if there are some asymptomatic people who have actually recovered? It is also through that, because I roughly look at about 6.5 lakh kids which have come in and things like that. The other day people are talking about herd community, another thing herd immunity and things like that. So how does all this fit in? Because our total sample size for everything, for the kind of population that we have, is actually very, very low.
Dr. Bhatt?
Right. So, if I understand what you correctly, what you are asking is about plasma therapy, and right now, plasma therapy is not the first line therapy for anybody who is coming with COVID-19. Right. So, what you have understood is that people who have been infected and got better after the COVID infection, we can use their plasma to treat the people who are currently fighting with the disease. And what you wanted to ask is that can we take plasma from asymptomatic people who had the infection, right? So what you need to understand, first thing is plasma therapy is right now in experimental phases, not the first line therapy for anybody who is coming with COVID. Secondly, it's a complicated procedure to get the plasma and to inject it into people who need it. So it's far away for us to understand whether asymptomatic people are going to provide us with plasma for treating patients or not.
So we're far away from that. All right, last question, Captain Jaspal. If you can keep it short, the doctors can have more time to answer it.
Good evening, everybody. My question is, if I borrow a book from a doctor who is infected, will I be infected? And if I continue to borrow for 14 days?
Yes, you will. You can definitely get infected if you are getting a book from a doctor who is infected. There are enough steps taken at the healthcare facilities to make sure that the doctors are not carrying infections from the hospitals to the house place. So obviously, if the book belongs to the clinic or the hospital where the infection is actually there, that thing could not happen. I'm sure the doctor will take enough precautions not to give you a book will have a higher risk of transmitting infection.
But I think it's a good note to end, not just to remind everybody, sterilize everything you get, whether you're ordering from outside, borrowing books from anybody, a doctor or not. Just keep yourself clean, keep everything around you clean, stay safe. Good night. We're going to go in for a short break. On the other side, we'll get you an exclusive interview with the Punjab Chief Minister.